Welcome to the Shaman and the Medium. My name is Tess. I am a shaman, kundera, and medicine woman,
My name is Kylie. I'm a shamanic medium.
and we are from the light. We work for the light, and we are here on assignment to assist the collective in healing, awakening, raising consciousness, and becoming your highest and best self. It is of the utmost importance at this time of evolution for Mother Earth and for humanity that we rise. Creating this podcast has been a request from Spirit and is Spirit led. Before each and every episode, we will be calling in directions, opening sacred space as we are here to share our medicine with you and the medicine of the divine beings of light, which we consider to be quite sacred. So, welcome to our sacred space, friends.
Our intentions for this podcast is to cultivate a casual, safe container, no matter where you are in your journey, to share your knowledge and experiences alongside of us as we share our knowledge that we have gained throughout our journey this far. We will share our experiences, our channelings from the light. We will be vulnerable as this path is not always sunshine and rainbows. We want this to be an interactive community space where you can share your experiences, ask questions, offer topics that you'd like us to cover.
Yeah, so folks, please bear with us as we navigate this new space. We may refer to notes at times to stay on track as we get more comfortable and used to this whole new experience for us. We're both Virgos, so in the past we have felt very challenged with being seen. So please share your compassion with us as we navigate through this beautiful growth experience that Spirit is leading for us.
As our podcast grows, we have enough subscribers to go live. We want to open the space for shared discussions, share live sound baths, card readings, channeled readings, and Q&As. We'll be posting on several different podcast platforms. You can listen on the go, which we will announce as they develop.
Yeah, and we will also be featuring guest speakers on various topics. And I personally am manifesting spiritual musicians to come on for a chat and a performance. We intend to cover a wide variety of topics, and we're going to kind of start at the basics, the foundations, with stuff like chakras, consciousness, protection, grounding, signs and synchronicities from the angelic realm, imposter syndrome, the clears, signs of awakening, and different comfort measures through that process. Different forms of divination, sacred geometry.
And we'll be working our way through various topics of healing and healing modalities, such as mental health, being the foundational piece of spiritual health, processing grief, parasites, how they cause much of our disease and cleansing, trapped emotions, emotion code, and how they also cause disease in our bodies. Frequencies, grace, compassion, forgiveness, sound healing, medicine of the earth, mental illness versus spiritual illness, and fasting.
Yeah, and then we want to do some deep diving into some more extensive topics, some of which we will be opening up a Patreon, as some topics are a little bit too sensitive for the general public. So that'll be some, and we'll let you know where those are going to be. But these deeper dives into Yeshua and Mother, Father, God, Great Spirit, 1,000 names, Mary Magdalene and other Gnostic texts, the Hopi prophecy, and the eagle and the condor, different mythologies and their respective deities, angels, archangels, and of course aliens. Kundalini, what is that? So Kundalini energy, Kundalini awakenings, cycles and lessons that we all go through. Plant medicine, both psychoactive and non-psychoactive. Spirit guides and free will and how to ask for help. Toth and the Emerald Tablets, Ra and the Law of One, reincarnation, the Akashic Field, and the list goes on and on and on.
The podcast is intended for anyone who's seeking healing, guidance on their spiritual path, questioning their spirituality, those seeking enlightenment, It doesn't matter if you're an expert on the path for 50 years. If you're just waking up, or if you're just waking up feeling scared and wondering what's happening, or anyone who's just simply curious and trying to expand your mind and consciousness.
Absolutely. And humans are pack creatures. We are meant to live and exist, within community. But sometimes we don't have a like-minded community around us, or perhaps the community around us isn't aligned with our morals and values. So again, it doesn't matter where you are in your journey. We are inclusive to all. So please come dive into this bizarre human experience with us.
Below is how you'll find us on TikTok, Instagram. You can always feel free to email us with any questions or topics that you would like us to cover. We're also going to include our link tree that will continue to grow, but we'll also have a link if you feel called or aligned to share a love donation with us. We are beyond grateful and appreciative of any donations to our channel.
Absolutely. All right, so let's dive into who we are and how we got to where we are in this moment of time. So we'll start with, what is a shaman? So the word shaman comes, well, it's actually a Tungus word, which originated in Siberia in North Asia. And it's a pretty broad term for someone who has access to and influence in the spirit realm. So a shaman is a bridge between realms, so between the spirit realm and the physical plane. So as travel, we travel to the underworld, to the middle world, which is here, and then to the upper world. Becoming a shaman is a gift that the creator bestows upon an individual. One can learn different aspects of shamanism and put it to practice. But the key to being a shaman is that it's supported by spirit, as the work that is done in conjunction with spirit. A shaman is born. A shaman is not created. It takes. It is required that you have dedication, work, and humility. The term shaman for eon has been a term that the tribe or the community calls the individual, and the individual does not call themselves a shaman. But here's the thing: we now live in a modern world, and we have reached a pivotal point in evolution. And what this world needs most right now is healing, and a lot of that healing is spiritual. In addition, while the Western world, in Western medicine has come so far and is capable of so much, it's not looking at the individual as a whole, not the way shamanic healing does. So if those of us that are called by spirit into this role do not announce our existence, how will people find us? How will we heal? How will we help humanity heal? And how will we heal Mother Earth herself if we don't stand up and be authentic into who we are? So this is a call from spirit asking not only us, but anyone who sees this, who is a healer, a shaman, kundera, whatever it is, whatever title it is that you resonate with, to stand in your authenticity and rise. Show yourselves, because we have a lot of work to do. Humanity needs us, Great Spirit needs us, and we need to be accessible. We are at the height of spiritual warfare at this time. This is not something to be afraid of. Rather, it is a time to increase our knowledge and hold our light. It is literally taking me months of working through fears around sharing this message, but time is up. I'm not a fan of Divine Smackdowns, and the time is now. So here we are. So, to lead by example, my name is Tess, and I have been so graciously gifted the role and the titles by spirit of shaman, kundera, and heoka. In the 3D world, I am a registered nurse of 17 years, and I've spent the past several years in psychiatry. Being a shaman is not just a trade, it is a way of life, and it is a path of sacrifice. Black Elk saw two roads. In those two roads, the first being the good red road of spiritual practice and knowledge, and the second being the earthly black road of fear. and being ego based. I certainly spent several years on that earthly black road and experienced hardship after hardship and depression and anxiety, and it was not serving me. I was not thriving. Um, Making the switch has saved my life in so many ways. I heard an elder say that if one is on the spiritual path, one must never compromise their spiritual path to accommodate their lifestyle. Rather, we must compromise our lifestyle to accommodate our spiritual path. As shamans, we call upon the wisdom of the spirit realm and the plants to assist us in the healing energies for our clients. We also look at the individual as a whole: mind, body, soul, and spirit. Versus the Western model, which only looks on the surface. Don't get me wrong, there's a time and a place for everything. So, use your own discernment. Shamans have a deep connection to Mother Earth as she provides the medicines to heal us, but also many of us are called to do healing work on Mother Earth herself. Being a shaman requires clarity, purity, and strength to be able to handle the power and responsibility of the role. Accessing the spirit realm is generally done through healing work, trance or meditative states, divination, and other rituals. Now, a trance state is accessing alternate states of consciousness, and we do this through drumming, chanting, meditation, prayer, dance, and the use of sacred plant medicines. So, for me personally, I was told I was a shaman when I was in elementary school and I was sitting in my bedroom all by myself. And I hear, "You're a shaman." I was by myself and I heard that. So, I did not know what that was. I didn't know what that meant. I did not grow up on a reservation. I grew up in the suburbs. And so I did not have elders to, pick up the signs that I was on this path. I did not have elders to guide and to teach me, but I had spirit. Um, so I've also been given the name, or the title rather, of Kundera, which is quite synonymous to the term shaman. Kunderas are also healers. They're considered folk healers, who use herbs and amulets and other natural remedies to heal. They're also spiritual advisors, counselors, and they heal through prayer. And this is all very similar to shamans as well. So, also, I mean, probably around that same time, as a little girl, definitely elementary school, my mom, sat me down and was like, Tess, me and your grandma and family have noticed that things. You're able to predict the weather. Things before they happen, and it kind of runs in the family. I do come from a line of healers and individuals that just know things, and so she provided that safe space for me, and let me know that, hey, I can share all of my experiences and thoughts and everything with her and at home, but maybe I didn't want to tell all my friends about it. So I was just totally cool about that, and I didn't feel the need to share it with everybody else. But so I was very blessed to grow up in a home in which I could share my experience, and I didn't have to hide it. I didn't have to be shamed for it. It wasn't weird. It was accepted. Then, when I was a young adult, I heard the same way I heard I was shaman. I heard I was a heyoka, and this was after I had been visited and touched by thunderbirds. So, what is a heyoka? So, a heyoka is a type of shaman and type of empath, and they live and behave in direct opposition to the community around them. Heyokas are known to be a blend of a jester, a priest, and a shaman. So we heal with laughter. Laughter is the best medicine. That's how we do a lot of our transformation and our releasing. But also, we're quite blunt. I like to take people to the edge of their comfort zone and, just very gently, just topple over, and and that's where we have our big breakthroughs and our big, healing experiences. But that also means that I'm not the healer for them, for everyone, and that's okay. We're not all for everyone. Not everybody's going to resonate with me, and everyone's going to resonate with Kylie, and that's okay. So, being comfortable and perhaps guiding them to somebody that is in more resonance with them, and so that requires a lot of humility, in which we have to honor. So heyokas are mirrors for individuals to illuminate their shadow aspects, and this is all done for their healing and evolution. We tap into the emotions of others, and in that way that we're able to provide a healing that is more individualized, because we are able to feel and really get into exactly where they are and what space they're in, and kind of meet them where they are. So people are either drawn to our type of healing or they run from it. If they run, it's generally because they are filled with a lot of projections of their own fears from their own minds. But the ones who stick around, it's powerful healing, and I mean it can be fun because again, I'm just a jokester. Um, so when someone is called by spirit to carry the title of a shaman, they will generally experience a shaman's illness, which is a bit of a rite of passage. This is generally an illness that has no cause or a cure, and not everybody is fortunate enough to survive this experience. Thankfully for me, I did survive mine as I sit before you. And my shaman's illness was about 13 and a half years ago. I had a spontaneous dissection of my left carotid. I still do not have a pulse on this side of my body. Um, and that led to having more strokes than my neurologist can count. I had to learn how to walk and talk in ABCs and 1, 2, 3s all over again. I was completely flaccid on the right side of my body. So, that also came along with a tremendous amount of nerve pain. Through that nerve pain, they gave me pharmaceuticals, and that became an issue. So, I, I used my pharmaceuticals as prescribed until I realized it did not just help with my physical pain, but it helped with my emotional pain. And that is when I developed an addiction to that. And so through that whole experience, I had to, not only heal from my strokes, but I also had to heal from the addiction that I developed from those strokes. All of which was, I mean, the Western world didn't help me much on that end. That was very spirit led, and I absolutely received divine healings, miraculous healings. So whenever somebody says I don't believe in miracles, I'm like, hi, my name is Tess. I am a walking miracle, and I'm here to share that with everyone. But that also led me to alternative healings. When Western medicine didn't really have any answers for me, I was on all these medications and my pain was still severe, is when I was led to Reiki. So that is when I started having Reiki done, and she was able to, see into my legs and untangle the balls of nerves that were in my body, and my healing was tremendous. And in that moment I was like, I've got to be able to learn this and teach this to other people, because it literally saved my life. I did not know how I was going to continue in that amount of pain. So about 11 years ago is when I started my journey of doing hands-on healing and doing energy work, and then really channeling ascended masters for the healing, as we're just the vessel as they work through us. So in 2018, during a guided journey, no plant medicines, just a journey, I was guided into a clearing of a forest, and it was by a river, and I was approached by the master healer himself, Yeshua. aka Jesus. You'll hear us mention him a lot, a whole lot. I prefer the term Yeshua. So when I say Yeshua, I am referring to the Western Jesus. Um, so in that experience, he came to me and he was in a red cloak and he picked me up and he walked me into the water and cleansed me or baptized me, however you want to look at that. And that changed my life. I mean, when you are in the arms of Yeshua, I mean, how does that not change a person? Yeshua, in fact, was a shamanic holy man. I say was, is a shamanic holy man. He is my main teacher. He is my main guide, and he is the one that I receive the most channelings from. One time, I was working with him and I asked him to train me and he asked me to hold my hands out, so I did. He put his hands into mine and slid into me. He said, "I don't need to train you, I'll work through you." And I was like, well, duh. Okay. So anyways, yeah. So then, jumping over, then in 2019, I was, I would say 2019 was probably one of the most horrendous years of my life. I had allowed myself to be involved with a very nasty, horrendous, and dangerous narcissist. And then that ended on New Year's Eve, in which they were out of my home of 2019. So 2020 comes, and that is when I experienced my spontaneous Kundalini awakening. And through that experience, everything I knew to be my reality completely crumbled. A lot of massive changes and awakenings. But that's also when I became consciously aware of matcha. So you'll hear me, throughout this podcast, speaking about matcha. Matcha is another one of my main guides. He was actually a grandfather of mine in a past life in which we were in a tribe together, and he continues to follow me in each lifetime and training me on my shamanic gifts, as this is not my first lifetime doing this work. And he is also my protector guide. So he started to show himself to me, and so I started to cultivate my relationship with him at that time. Also, I started to receive communication with archangels. I had heard of archangels. I just assumed it was like a Catholic thing. I'm not Catholic, so I didn't really know much about them. But when they start communicating with you, you start to get to know them and you learn about them. So that has been absolutely amazing. In 2020 as well, through that whole experience of my Kundalini awakening and everything, just completely crumbling, is also when I came out here to Colorado. So all of that, that entire experience was to lead me to where I was supposed to be. So on my way out to Colorado, as I was driving, I started to vibrate. And I started vibrating like really intensely. And so I pulled over, I got a hotel. And as soon as I got to my room, I laid down because it was, I could barely walk. It was so intense. And so as soon as I lay down, I hear, grab selenite and clear quartz. So I get up and I grab those and I lay back down. So I've got one in each hand and I'm immediately taken out of my body. And then I'm standing in front of Archangel Sanafan. At that time, he is beautiful and gigantic and enormous and all encompassing. And his heart chakra opens up and he starts filling me with with a golden glittery substance that fills me up from the feet, starting with the feet and filling me up, and then took me into my first remote viewing experience, which was intense as to what he showed me, but it was also really cool. So yeah, that was on my way out here. And then just my second day here in Colorado is when I finally met the shaman I'd been seeking my entire life. I started working with her, and worked with her for a couple years, and she continues to mentor me as needed, which I am beyond grateful for. I've been looking for her my whole life, but as we all know, it's all in divine timing. Not our timing, but in God's timing. So, anyhow, So then in 2022, in an ayahuasca journey, I was actually dropped into the Akashic field, which I'd always want to go to. And I was like a kid in the candy store, and I'm looking around at this vast, beautiful, amazing space. And I was like, whoa! And right beside me is Toth, Toth the Atlantean. He's in Cinemaster. We will get into so much more of him. And he's standing right beside me, and I see him, and I know he's there, and I don't pay him any mind. And I still to this day am like working through my guilt on that because I totally should have acknowledged and honored that. But in transparency, that's how that went down. And then so I'm like, all right, that's what I need to know. All right, so I calm myself, I center myself, and I'm like, okay, so what book do I need at this time for my highest and best? And as soon as I was able to calm and center, shoo, then I was out of there, and he took me to Atlantis, where we stood on the beach, and at that time he anointed me, and told me my next steps for my journey and where I could find them. And ever since then, he has also become one of my main teachers and one of my main guides. So I mentioned a few of my guides and teachers. So some more, well, beyond my own current lineage. So I've got Yeshua and Toth, which, by the way, they both want us to share with everyone that they work together. And that is something they really want to get out. So I will be repeating that, and I'm sure she will as well. Throughout this podcast. But also Matcha, and Anubis. So Anubis is actually an Egyptian deity, and he and Toth are the ones that run Egyptian shamanism. And we will get more into all of that in another podcast later. Also, the Quiero lineage of Peru, Maria Sabina, and other archangels such as Metatron, Michael, Raphael, and Gabriel, and of course, Xenophon. So those are my main guides and teachers. I work with other ones, but those are the ones that I call upon on a daily basis, and show up for the healings that I do as well. So another calling card of a shaman is an experience of being struck by lightning. So many times this is very literal for an individual. But again, as we're moving into the modern times, that's not necessarily always the way it's going to look for the modern shaman, I would say. So for me personally, my experience was I was actually sitting at my kitchen table, and I swear all I did was just blink too long, and all of a sudden I'm transported up through a Metatron's cube, and then dropped right in front of the Great Pyramid of Giza. And at that time, a gigantic blue lotus flower emerged, from the pyramid, and started to shoot this beam of blue light from the pyramid through the flower and into my vessel. And when that happened, every cell in my body I was shown, and every single cell in my body had a lightning bolt in it. So thankfully, I'm so grateful that I was not physically struck by lightning, but that was my experience of being struck by lightning. After that, I was then taken to a room, and a door opened up, and it was like the holy light coming through, and several blue and white angels came in and surrounded and surrounded and surrounded, and yeah, so that was my experience with that one. So then October of 2022, I start a new job, I go to orientation, and to my left is this beautiful soul right here, Miss Kylie. So come to find out, that's how we met. Come to find out, we found out together. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's how we met. So I was RN, and she was a behavioral health counselor, and we both ended up working on the same unit. We both worked night shift, and we worked pretty much every shift together. So we had plenty of time and opportunity to chat and discover that we shared some of the same gifts. We both worked in the spirit world, and so it was one of those divine meetings, 100% spirit led. Leading up to her coming into orientation, me coming into orientation. It could have been a bajillion different ways, but the way it all worked out, I mean, it's all divinely guided. So it was actually pretty cool. So, we've been through quite the journey since then that has led us to this very moment today. But it's been beautiful, and I'm so grateful. And yeah, here we are. So, yeah, that was October 2022. And then at the end of 2023, in December of 2023, Kylie and I both started the Medicine Wheel program. So the Medicine Wheel program is being initiated into the lineage of the Quero people in Peru, and receiving the 9 rites of the Munikai. So these are healing rites, these are wisdom rites, and we will get into more of that in a future episode. And also this, when we complete this, we will be full mesa carriers. And we will explain more of that too. But a mesa is basically is an extension of your energy field, and it's also part of your it's a healing tool. So this is my mesa.
My mesa.
Yeah. So we'll explain more on that. But yeah, so our mesas are our BFFs, and kind of go with us everywhere. And we meditate with them, and we feed them, and it gets weird, but it's cool. So yeah. So during the first weekend of that class, I had a dream that a very vivid dream that I could still see clear as day, and I was in Peru, and all the people of Peru, they came and they greeted me and they welcomed me back, and they so loving and so kind, and and the mountain spirit came, and it was just a magical experience. And it was in that moment, when I woke up and I was like, oh, this is not my first time with this lineage either. So, it just keeps going and going and going. This is a path that never ends. It's beautiful. It's amazing. I'm grateful, but it's like this is also a path in which we are constantly being initiated. We're constantly integrating. We are learning and growing, and it's a lot, but it's amazing. Truly. So yeah. So as if that wasn't enough, going through the experience of that and initiations through that process, a few months ago here in 2024, we were abruptly thrusted into initiations with Egyptian shamanism. I don't know why I didn't see that coming, having been working with Toth already for a couple years, but I had no idea. It definitely caught me off guard for sure. But yeah, so we will definitely be um, getting into Egyptian shamanism more as we go on with this podcast. But we have recently been discovering the deep connection from Peru and Egypt, and the different forms of shamanism, and how they differ, but how they are so similar. And so we are kind of blending the types of shamanism from the Native American shamanism to the Egyptian shamanism, and kind of you know creating with spirit, co-creating this this other form of shamanism, in which is even more all-encompassing. So yeah, so that is a little bit about shamanism and about me as a person and how I got to this very moment. So yeah, I'm going to pass it on over to my girl Kylie here, and yeah, she'll talk about her story and explain what is mediumship.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So I'll be jumping to just straight into what is a medium. Um, Two different things: mediumship and being a medium. Obviously, as a person, an individual is a medium, but mediumship is a practice. It's a daily practice if fully committed to it. A medium has many different definitions when it comes to someone's background or culture, but usually in the same realm of just being a communicator of spirit. If you were to like Google it, it would be mediumship is said to be started as early as 1300 BC in France, or in documentation of 1800s in New York. To me, Yeshua or Jesus was the first medium, as he used God's source energy to bring healing to the world. He heard the word of God, which brought so much light to the world then and now. My own definition of a medium is a messenger of energies, the communicator of the in between, and being able to increase your frequency to communicate with spirit and to know that you're communicating with the right realms that you want. Um, in my opinion, everyone has their own definition of a medium, obviously, and people who are mediums have various titles that they resonate with, that's specialized to their gifts and skills. Some say that they speak to dead people, or the most common is like I see dead people, and that's usually the generic stereotype of a medium. um, there are different levels on how a medium communicates. Some speak with past loved ones, or of past lives, and there's spirit guides. Some speak with angels, and they use their own template to engage with spirit. Others travel different dimensions to find the spirit that they're looking for, or find information out in those realms. And spirit is in literally everything. Spirit is energy, energy is spirit. It can come down to the trees, grass, earth, sky, water. You literally can communicate with just energy. Um, these skills come with us when we're born onto earth, and if we choose to tap into ourselves, we can unlock our gifts from the spiritual realm. None of it is going to look the same, and none of our skills are going to look the same. We're really just spirits or consciousness having a human experience. The difference I've spiritually grown to know is that a medium comes in all shapes and sizes in the way of obtaining information and messages. Some use their five senses, intuition, tarot, anything that is spiritually given to get messages or something that resonates. Some people color and they get all the messages they want when they color the page red. I mean, that's their process. A title that I resonate with is a shamanic medium. And there's a couple differences from being a medium to a shamanic medium. This is my truth, which I resonate with, and speaker of, sorry, I got messed up. A speaker of all different forms of energies, archangels, ascended masters, seeing different dimensions, bringing back messages just from the dimension itself, speaking with celestial beings, um, having spirit do body scans, helping do a medical, spiritual evaluation of your body, assessing higher realm information. Sometimes traveling to the underworld. Not my favorite, but to speak with individuals there, escaping souls out of the void in the spiritual realm, physical souls even living on earth. Sometimes that's what's part of a soul retrieval, which obviously we'll talk about. Is that what means physical soul here on earth and having a piece under there? Sometimes you got to go get it to come back fully. Um, all spirit is different. Each reading and healing work session is always a different kind of adventure. How I got to this point and to even know anything about being a medium. I grew up in Colorado, very sheltered home, on top of being an only child. So my story is a little complicated, as my family dynamic was toxic, scary at times. Family was never a word growing up, but all my struggles, realizing now, in childhood pushed me into spirit and into communication with them. The spiritual world was my community. It was my family, my whole existence. Not was, is. Um, but my physical world was not very pleasant at times, and I would just escape my reality into different worlds. I remember being in school and I would just sit there, and my school experience was not the best. A lot of bullying involved, and I would just try to find my own world, and that's where I would go all the time. And it saved me in a lot of different situations. Um, Not even realizing as a child, my imaginary friends were spirits. And, it's normal for kids to have imaginary friends, but mine was pretty extreme now looking back. Um, but they kept me safe. A huge push from being obviously in my childhood, but that really sent my communication to spirit outwards was my aunt passing away when I was 11. My aunt and my mom were identical twins, so I was really terrified that I was going to lose my mom since my aunt died so young. I developed this massive amount of anxiety, and it was crippling. I always wanted to or always had to stay by my mom if I could. In this process, it was horrid mentally. My aunt really came through at this time to like calm me down. And again, obviously not physically, but spiritually. Um, I really started growing with her, and I remember telling my mom once I had the courage to say something that I know Aunt Brenda so much more now than I ever did in the physical world. Again, 11 years old, like you're growing up half that time, like you don't really know people, and it was crazy, very crazy experience. Um, but I started getting messages to tell my mom from her, and I was grateful, very grateful and scared, but everything was spot on that it was my aunt. My mediumship as a child was honestly a lot sometimes when trying to understand it myself. I mean, a child, you just can't fully grasp what is going on. um, I didn't know if it was just too many spirits, or I said probably a gazillion million gajillion times that I was going crazy, and I was scared to say anything, and I was couldn't open up to anyone. Gratefully, my mom, for the most part, understood. Um, she finally had like a little intervention because I was just not able to focus and do anything and trying to figure it out. Took me to different mediums to help. Um, Obviously, my gifts opened up at this time, and you can imagine the best way to explain it is like a big bucket that you put on the top of your head and you fill it with a bunch of water and it just dumps. And that's all spirit and spirit information just literally pouring into your head. Um, it was a lot for me to understand, especially not having friends, family communication, like someone to tell me that, hey, your grandmother was this way or anything. My family was not any of that. Um, so I didn't tell anyone other than my mom. My mom was emotionally dead. She was mentally ill by her own grief of losing her twin. Very hard to watch and see. I always wanted to get messages from her sister just to make her feel better. Around 14, I saw a mole on my mom's back, and I just had this knowing at this age, which is crazy, that my hands could heal. I was now talking and seeing Yeshua at this point, and he told me to pray into my hands and place it on her back. And I did that every day until I knew it was, completed. Um, but I did that for months. I can't even say if years, but a very long time. But in my brain, I knew I was saving her. Um, as my mom was in her grief, my dad was always working, and I would have spirit talk to me in my journal to calm me down. I started going to graveyards when I could drive, and a 16-year-old is going to the graveyard, and chilling, and brought a journal. And again, I don't know any information on of what I'm actually doing. I just know that this is what I should be doing. Um, but I was um, automated writing and had no idea. I still have this journal to this day, as it was my little safe space. You know, I could say and do whatever I wanted because it was everything to me. Um, it was very crazy that a child could see and experience what is actually written in those pages. Now looking back, um, my gifts really grew within myself. Again, kept all in secret because nobody would understand. If I ever said I was talking to spirits from the other side or seeing dead people, I mean, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now. So I always wanted to branch out, you know, into my like other family members, but I now realize that I was just being protected by them for probably various reasons, but as just something that they wouldn't understand. Um, I really admire my story now as I didn't choose or ask for these gifts. I was fortunately just gifted them by God. I went through a lot of health struggles as well as a child, from a journey of thinking that I had brain cancer, literally a tumor on my pineal gland, of all glands in your brain, a little seat for the soul. Thankfully, gratefully, that it was benign. But also asthma, which then advanced to COPD. Very, again, very young age, very crazy. Always, if I wasn't talking to spirits, I was trying to breathe. It was either one of those. Um, each day, I was just grateful that I had my ability to see spirit, as they kept me okay in all the struggles that I dealt with in childhood. My parents were dealing with their own issues and just didn't necessarily have the space for me. Um, which again, now grateful because I don't know where my skills would be at if, you know, I had other things to occupy my time. Fast forward around 19, I was electrocuted. And that experience brought another spotlight to my life. When that happened, I went unconscious, and very long journey to gain full function. I um, lost my ability to write, and if I did, my nerves were completely shot, literally, through um, both hands. So it brought me into this spiral of depression and anxiety and stuff that I was, you know, obviously trying to work through, and um, didn't know if I would ever gain that back. Um, I had a one moment of going into the grocery store, and I was on my last straw, um, with just being mentally not okay, with just how much pain and nerve pain that I was in, and so much medication and trying to work, school, all the things. Um, this little boy came up to me. He looked like a little Rugrat from the Rugrat cartoon, like little Chucky or something. And he was by himself, and he kissed me on the arm and told me that he had a broken arm too. So we both had broken arms, and he told me it was going to be okay. And I knew that that was like a godsend to just keep going, regardless of pain and, you know, all the things. But I'm super grateful for that moment. Um, then fast forward to January of 2023. 2023 was by far in the books of the worst year of my entire life. Um, they say it's the dark night of the soul, but mine lasted the entire year. My mom ironically died of melanoma, as something, you know, I feared over 10 years ago with the mole on her back. Um, and was going through the process just 3 months after of a divorce. Um, Everything, my whole life just shattered. Um, then dealing with a massive traumatic experience that I can speak on in a later time. But all of these events combined was not, I was not okay. Hit my rock bottom of November of 2023. Um, I would never think I'd ever say this, but just to be grateful that all of these events did happen for me. And it ignited a massive spiritual awakening. I'm grateful as I could never understand. Sorry, I'm truly grateful as I could never understand, throughout this entire process of not knowing who I was and what I'm supposed to be and being a medium or I'm going crazy, and just trying to understand myself. Um, I could never understand why love was so difficult to get from the people that were supposed to be sharing it with me. Um, my story was about trusting and getting love from my spiritual family instead. So hitting from rock bottom in November and considering offing myself to literally the next month of having my spiritual awakening, spiraled me in all the good ways, and saved my life. The December, I joined a medicine wheel program, did my first plant ceremony experience, and I was finally able just to step up and see my own power, not just spiritually, but just as a human. Um, and I was able to see what my gifts were all about in all aspects. Looking back on everything now, a lot of the visions, my seer ability, and chanting into my hands as a child to heal my mom, living a sheltered life. I mean, I never even knew what a shaman was, probably until last year, but, or I guess 2022. But it all makes sense to the shaman path and very imposter syndrome with that, still working through it. But I don't know. It's just my story in a nutshell. It's been very crazy, traumatic, but very beautiful. I'm very grateful for the gifts that God has given me. I'm thankful to be here. I'm thankful for you. Um, and thankful for you. So thank you for hanging out with us and listening to our first episode.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's crazy because we all go through traumatic experiences, and it is so easy to get lost in the victim mentality of it all. I mean, I know I did, especially with my strokes. I mean, it was a couple years of why me? This isn't fair. I'm stuck like this. I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. I can't be a nurse again, and it spiraled into addiction. And so, had I chosen to stay there, I probably would not still be here. But that divine spark within me, my connection to our creator, that is what saved me. That's what guided me to healing and to stepping into this spiritual path that I was not on when all of that happened. So it's then coming out of it and being like, oh my gosh, I am so grateful for that experience, because now I can step into my divine path and be the divine being that I am here to be, and help others. And by sharing my story, and by sharing our experiences, we hope you will share your experiences with us and inspire others that are going through something similar. Again, we are pack creatures. We are here to help each other heal. So, thank you so much for coming to our very first podcast, in which we are just, figuring it out as we go. And thank you for your patience with us. And I do want to end with a quote from Black Elk, who was a holy man. And he was um, a Lakota visionary. And so this quote is: the first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the soul of people when they realize their relationship with Creator, their oneness with the universe and all of its powers, and when they realize at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit. And that center is really everywhere, and it is in within each and every one of us. We all possess Great Spirit within us, within our souls, most importantly, within our hearts. So if we can get connected back to our heart space, and if we can lead from our heart space instead of our root chakras, where our pains and our traumas and our projections come from, then we can really heal. We can really do some magic work on this earth, And that's not saying we're not a fan of the spiritual bypassing, in which you don't acknowledge the things that comes up. No, acknowledge it, feel it, heal it, but just don't hold on to it forever. We don't have to carry it. You don't have to. I give you permission to release what is no longer serving you. Sometimes that's all we need is permission. So please work on releasing, because you don't have to carry it. Okay. All right. So again, thank you so much for checking us out.
Thank you.
Check out our links below. And again, we are beyond grateful for any donations to our channel as we grow and we share our knowledge and all the things that we are here to do. And we plan on posting all of our new episodes on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time here in the United States. So please come check us out. We'll keep you updated on the other platforms that we are jumping in on. And again, look, y'all, we, have spent a lot of years working with adolescents and behavioral health and all things. And really, we're just two goofballs that also have this role. So, we want a casual space. We want to be able to cut up a little bit and, goof around. Again, I just, laughter is the best medicine. And, I hope you'll come laugh at me because that's what I'm here for. All right. Thank you all so much. Peace and blessings to you all. And we'll see you next week.